Yeah, cool.
Hey everyone, I'm delighted to be joined by Greg Jennings, who's known as Booze Free Dad on Instagram, and I recommend you definitely follow him because he's really inspirational. And he's been alcohol free since the 1st of January last year. Hey Greg, how you doing?
Simon, g'day. It's great to join you. I'm doing really well, thank you.
All the way from Australia.
Yeah, I'm in Melbourne, Australia. So yeah, it's what is it? It's morning over there, nighttime over here. It's a Friday night over here. How life changes. Here I am.
Yeah, exactly. Who'd have thought you'd have been talking about sobriety on a Friday night a few years
Yeah,
ago?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
So,
It's good.
first
It's
of all,
good
it's
to be here.
great to have a guy on. Often, I have women come on, share their stories, which are inspirational, powerful, and other people get so much out of them. But it's so nice to connect with another guy. And I'd love to hear what life was like when you were drinking and kind of what it was that led you to evaluating your relationship with alcohol.
Yeah, sure. Cheers. And you're right. It is really good. As blokes, as we say, to be able to talk about this. Traditionally, men will talk a lot over beer, but they won't talk about what it does to them. So yeah, it is good to connect. I guess for me, so my alcohol journey, it was probably I sort of from a 12-year-old really. That was the first time when I remember first getting drunk, and then the relationship just kicked off from there. So um, any normal teenager louding about and lying to your parents where you are, and off you go to parties and stuff like that. Um, and then then through your early 20s, that's all life was around, really, socializing and getting out and about and binge drinking. And I reflect on that now. I don't know how we did it. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday nights. Um, but they're sort of the times where you're carefree, and the ramifications at the time you didn't even think about. Um, but then I guess over the journey, so in adulthood, yeah, it sort of increased and it didn't really stop. So I was always a binge drinker, I guess. And for me, it was sort of first to arrive, last to leave. I was that type of bloke. And for all my socializing, it was always done around a beer. Um, yeah, so it's always sort of been there, particularly in the adulthood. And then not until fatherhood did I sort of start to think about the seriousness of my relationship with alcohol. And I guess I flirted with the idea of taking a break. Um, and like there's great stuff like dry July, isn't there, and dry January that you can do. And I sort of did that over the time. But yeah, it was always there, and I sort of always put that as a priority. I guess put alcohol as a priority over everything else that I did. It was just um, it sort of dominated who I was. And yeah, I guess once fatherhood kicked in, that was when it really sort of I put the spotlight on it. Yeah, and I sort of started to worry about what it was doing to me, I guess.
And how old were you then?
I became a dad, that was 2013 when I became a father. So I was 35. And then from then on, I've flirted with the idea of stopping. And then it was not until, what's 2020. So I was turning 42 that year. So yeah, pretty much at the start of 2020, I ended that relationship with beer and drinking and alcohol and everything that goes with it. It was a 30-year relationship, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, right. I suppose with
Yeah.
kids coming along, it's a time to. It obviously made you really self-reflect and think, where am I with my life? What sort of role model am I going to be to these kids?
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes you a bit of time to realize that you've sort of got to stop trying to be that person you always were. You're not always going to be that bloke in your 20s and being able to party like that. And you've sort of got to become a bit selfless, I guess. And it takes a lot to be able to admit that to yourself, that it's
Yeah,
time to give up that person.
I agree.
And it really took me a long time to get there. In hindsight, I wish I did it ages ago, but Interestingly, it was actually my son that helped me get to that point. Because as you know, they mirror what you do. Kids,
Completely. Yeah.
yeah. So what they say about that is absolutely true.
And you
And
got
then
two
probably
boys, haven't you? But 7 and 4.
yeah, I do. I've got a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. So when the older one was probably about 3, he started to mimic me. Yeah, and sort of pretend their milk is beer and stuff, and you sort of laugh it off, but
Yeah, right.
that is not cool. That is not great. So it was sort of that behaviour that I knew I had to change that. And then we got there eventually at the start of 2020. But what happened in 2019 was my son, he actually said to me, "Oh, Dad, can you give up beer, or why do you drink beer so much?" And I couldn't give him a straight answer why I drank beer so much. There was no clear answer. There was no rhyme or reason behind it. And he goes, "Oh, can you stop drinking it?" And this is while I'm drinking a beer. And I
Right.
sort of laugh it off. Yeah. I'm like, "Yeah, sure, mate. Yeah, whatever." And then, but a few weeks later, he asked me again. And then I think a couple of weeks after that, he went at me again.
Wow.
And also this time the younger one was chiming in with him. So at that point I said, "Yeah, right, I will." Yeah. And I think that was about in August 2019. And I said, "I'll stop at Christmas." Yeah. And I just thought he'd forget. But then come Christmas Day, there was 2 things he was concerned about. Yeah. Santa Claus and, "Righto, Dad, now you've got to stop drinking." Unbelievable.
That is, I mean, at that age, for it to have caused him that much concern and that awareness is just incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. That hit me right between the eyes,
It must have
really.
done, yeah.
Um, and he held me to it. So I said, "Okay." And because I said I'd stop drinking for a year. And, so he held me to it. And there was a few other things that happened along the journey too that sort of, it wasn't just that moment, but there was a few other, the drinking had got to blackout drinking as well,
Right.
at home and outside of home. So, and that was starting to get pretty scary. And I guess for a lot of people watching, they'd know that moment when you wake up and you're like, "Oh, I'm in my
Yeah,
bed.
what have I done?
Yeah, how did I get here?"
Yeah.
And that just wasn't funny anymore. It was starting to really weigh me down. And you're not waking up with just a hangover. You're waking up with some pretty intense shame as well, and
Yeah.
fear of what you've done, what you've said. Because you're not that's not the person you really are. You don't want to be that person.
No,
Um,
when you said earlier about when you're that sort of 20 something party animal, first to the bar, etc. I was actually thinking how when we're in that sort of midst of alcohol use or abuse, whatever you want to call it, we I think we're often a false version of the real self. And one of the massive liberating things about sobriety I found is actually connecting with the true version of who I really am and finding out who is this person. Actually, I'm not a party animal. I'm a bit introverted. I quite like to read and write and do puzzles
yeah,
rather than go out partying and drinking shots. And it's an amazing part of the experience.
I 100% agree. It's sort of, when you look at it, I always used to think about, like, what people would always talk about their hobbies and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
what are you into? I couldn't answer that, because basically all I was into was drinking. Really, when I reflect on it, sure, I'd go out and go to the footy or something over here, what we call it, or I'd cook. But when I'm cooking, it was with drinking. And since not drinking, like, the amount of stuff that you do,
Yeah.
there's so much more time. So, and you're right, yeah. Whether it's puzzles and particularly in the era that we've all lived in recent times, puzzles have become very popular in households with the
Yeah, and I
lockdowns and
think,
stuff.
and I see a lot of people who I coach with or in my boot camps and workshops who rediscover things like arts and crafts or playing instruments and stuff like that. And it's so amazing when you see them get these, an old dusty guitar out of the loft that they haven't played since they were a teenager, and they're just
Yeah.
immersed in it because they actually truly love doing that. But
Yeah.
alcohol sucks the joy out of it.
Oh, absolutely. And I think for me, it became a handbrake. I called it my handbrake. It had stopped me from doing all these things. Sometimes you'd write down all these things of what I'm going to do, and I want to do this. I am going to learn guitar or something. You just never get around to it. And that was the handbrake of booze, I reckon, for
Yeah, I
me.
love that. That's a great term.
It just really held me back, because I was prioritizing that next beer instead of actually really getting into something and doing it. Yeah, it's a really interesting journey. And so, I guess when I stopped, like, for a bloke to stop drinking, like, in our world today, for a bloke to stop drinking, it's quite rare, or to admit that you might have a problem, or
Yeah.
you might just want to try and not drink for a while. You can get sort of, put down by your mates, or there's that peer group pressure for men. So,
And I think in Australia as well. I mean, I've never actually
oh,
been, and I would love to go, but it sounds a bit like the UK blokey culture. Like you're one of the boys, and you've got to have a beer
yeah,
and all that
fully.
sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's everywhere. It defines you, and I think it
Yeah,
actually, like, it defined me, and yeah, it is that thing, right? Yeah, go and have a beer, like, and when you actually speak to people about it initially, they were quite shocked, like, how are you going to do that? Why on earth are you going to stop drinking?
yeah.
Or,
Why would you do that?
you can't do that. You won't be able to do that for a whole year. What's that going to achieve? But all the answers was, well, I'm just going to try and find out. I don't know what it's going to achieve. I don't know, but I need to try. Yeah, and then that journey of finding out, all the bonuses that go with it.
Right.
It's absolutely been amazing.
Did you do anything in terms of kind of educating yourself about sobriety first, or did you just think, no, I've like the resolve that your son's words gave you was enough just to say, no, I'm just going to use some willpower and just get on with it? What did you do pre work or?
Yeah, I did a fair bit of it, to be honest. I think, like, for my son, that was the catalyst. That was the final piece of the jigsaw. I had been listening to a lot of. I've got Audible, and I listen to books as opposed to read them, and a
Yeah,
lot of quit lit for me, and podcasts. I was all over them, and like how I mentioned before, how I flirted with the idea of giving up. I probably started listening to stuff in 2018,
right, yeah.
and it just sort of built up, built up, built up. And yeah, like, I look back on the amount of books that I've listened to over the journey. It's significant now.
Yeah, I've got all
But
mine behind me. I've got a
yeah,
cabinet full of them.
I've listened to your first one, and I'm up to day 26 on your second one, because I've listened to half of that. And
Oh, awesome. Well, I narrated the
well done
second
to
one.
you. Yeah, you sound great. You've done really well. Yeah,
The
good
first one
stuff.
was an Irish guy, and on Audible, the reviews aren't quite so good. I think I should have done that one as well.
Yeah, right. No, you've done well. You can be really proud of that.
Thanks.
But the first book I did listen to was Ego is the Enemy by is it Ryan Holiday, I think. He's an American guy, and that it set off from there. And then that's about sort of, leaving your ego at the door. Don't let your ego get in the way.
Which is
And
back
being
to that.
brave.
Sorry, you're gone.
No, go on.
I
And
was going to
just
say it's
being brave to.
back to that point about the false self again. We carry these egos, and it's not really who we are. It's what we want the world to see, and we want to kind of meet our needs for all these, like, that external version of us. So I've not actually read that book. It sounds really interesting.
Yeah, he's a gun. He is really good. Really positive stuff. Yeah, and every book that you listen to or read, you're just learning something different along the way, and they're all so relatable. And it does just get to that moment where it's like, right, I think I'm ready to have a go. I'm going to do it. And I sort of explored. There's a business in Australia here called the Resilience Project, and it's run by a guy called Hugh Van Cuylenberg. and he released, they build their business on gratitude, empathy, and mindfulness. And I started following those guys, and they've got a journal that you can do.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's a daily journal where you practice gratitude, empathy, and mindfulness. So that was happening a lot before 2020 as well. And I guess the big thing I learned about that is it's all about, you think about other people initially, but then it's about gratitude for yourself and empathy for yourself as well. And then falling in love with yourself again, basically, and getting over. It's a big thing to be able to say that wasn't working for me, and now I'm going to make a shift. Yeah, it's a big brave move. But once you do that, geez, the pride you have in yourself and the results that come with it are just huge.
Yeah, I completely agree. And what you said there is really very interesting, and it's a fascinating topic because so many people I work with, there's an underlying sense. You said about love yourself, of kind of not feeling good enough in the world, and it generally always relates back to our caregivers and how they were with us. And that's not to say parents or whatever didn't love us, but they can often leave us with this sense of just, we're not good enough, we just don't come up to the mark. And subconsciously, that's often a reason for using addictive behavior as a coping mechanism. And I think the other point is that self-care, as you rightly said, is not selfish. It's one of the least selfish things you can do because it ripples out, it affects everyone around you in a positive way.
Yeah, it really does. And I think for me, it's I was always worried what other people would think, and I grew up with that, I guess. I was always worrying about other people and then not about myself, I suppose. And, I worked on that. I saw an alcohol counselor or psychologist for a couple of years as well, leading up to 2020, to talk specifically about alcohol. And that was a big thing for me that we unearthed, that I was always worrying about what other people, doing stuff for other people first as opposed to myself. Or
people pleasing, that sort of thing.
People pleasing, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, that was sort of, I'd worry about that first.
Me too.
So then I don't know, it's just all I never thought I'd be here today, even to talk about it this openly is full on. Like, it's quite amazing that you get to that point of to being so comfortable about it. But it's the best move I've ever done, really. I don't know if I'll ever go back.
Well, hopefully not. I mean, you were 400 days alcohol free yesterday, so it's gone well past the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the whole challenge was a year to start with, and I didn't tell a lot of people initially, just people close to me. I didn't really. I set up Booze Free Dad for my own sharings, and started following people like yourself quite heavily. And the whole sober community out there is awesome. Everyone's so supportive, and it doesn't matter where you come from, who you are. Everyone's just cheering for you each day. But then 400 days this week was massive. It felt like just a day of pride, really. And I felt a bit weird over the Christmas January period. I think that was because that technically was my first Christmas New Year's without alcohol, and then getting through that was a huge accomplishment. And then the next goal was 400 days, and we'll just keep going. And
I think
I feel so good.
Over that first year as well, everything is the first time you've done it. The first Christmas, birthday, whatever, Thanksgiving in America, it's always the first one, and they're always tougher.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a year of first, isn't it?
It really is in every respect.
Yeah.
Did you? I'd be interested to know about your sons. Like, I'd love to hear how that relationship with both of them has changed over those 400 days, and whether they've given you any feedback, or you obviously talk about it openly, I
imagine. Yeah, absolutely, we do. It's been a big thing, and I'll tell you two things on that. Like, early, it was with the 0% beers that you can get. That's great. If you're going to go down this path, they're there as they'll help you through some cravings, etc.
Yeah.
So I'd have a few of those, but when I first started, I realized I didn't have to binge them because there's no real point to that. And then it was even still drinking those in front of them, I wanted to stop that because it's still the act of having a beer. And the first time my son saw me having a 0% beer, he called me out on it straight away. He recognised that it was a beer by the labelling. He goes, "Oi, Dad, what are you doing? Why are you drinking a beer?" And then that started the conversation about it, about 0% and no alcohol, and why Dad isn't drinking it. So they've sort of kept me in check the whole time. They've as a result of that, they've learnt about alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah, like my wife will still have a wine and all that sort of stuff. She doesn't, drink for flag and country like I did. So she's far more responsible than I ever was, and very mindful in front of the kids. But yeah, they've really learnt a lot about that, and so and I still don't really do that a lot in front of them. But they will, if they ever see me having one, they'll go, "Oi, what are you doing?" And I go, no, it's 0%. It's okay. And they're like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, okay."
And I think
Not
from
meant
an
to drink.
accountability perspective, it doesn't get much better than that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. They're keeping you in check. But
Definitely.
but they've noticed like I play with them more, and they've commented on that. Like I did ask my oldest boy leading up to the 400 days because, it was partly his idea. I said, what's been good about it, And he actually said, "Oh, you play with us more, you run faster, you can do more push-ups because your belly doesn't hit the floor anymore." I'm like, "What?"
Oh, wow.
And I knew I wasn't that really in shape, but in the eyes of him, I was far tubbier than what I thought I was.
It's amazing. Kids can just be such a powerful motivator in all of this. I mean, my own son, I did a YouTube video with him, and he was talking about
Right.
how he felt when I was drinking afterwards. And there were things he didn't feel safe sharing with me that actually after I quit, he opened up about them, and he described me as dead inside when I was drinking. And to
Wow.
hear him say that, it's obviously kind of heartbreaking, but then I feel gratitude that I've moved through that now, and we've got our relationship has transformed too. It's brilliant. You feel so
Yeah.
much more present, and you have the time for them.
Yeah. Time for them. Yeah, you're dead right on that. That must have been a really powerful moment for you to have those sort of conversations. So
It really
yeah,
was.
that's huge.
I even did a rate your dad worksheet with him. I gave it to him, and all these different areas of parenting. He scored me out of 10. And we would never have done that when I was drinking. And now
Yeah.
it's great to hear the feedback and where can I do better? Where am I doing well? And that's how it
Yeah.
is now. It's okay to have these conversations.
Yeah. I find the listening. I really engage more and actually do listen to what they're saying now, and that goes for all people really. It's not sort of like I've got this distraction
Yeah.
there anymore, or I'm thinking about that next beer. And like with the kids, it's the amount to be able to give them that time and your time, and when it's real time, when you're actually there with them, engaged in that moment, it's so important for them, no matter what age, really. And so, like, I think for my boys, the hope is that I can cause, I call it generational change. Yeah,
Yeah.
to help them know the power of having a choice. So if and it's gonna, I don't know what they're going to be like as teenagers. You're going through teenage life, with your boy at the moment. If I'm going to be asking them to do things when they're older, and I'm not getting the runs on the board myself, like that, they'll remember that. So by me doing this and going on this journey, and hopefully demonstrating the power of making a choice, I hope that has ripple effects down the track for them. Yeah.
It totally will. I mean, I remember Annie Grace said to me once, I was talking about my son to her, and she said, Simon, our kids do what we do, not what we tell them to do. And it's stuck in my head ever since. And my son, he's not interested in alcohol. He's had the odd sip from time to time. But I mean, when I was his age, I'd been getting served in pubs for 2 years. And he's just not
Right.
interested. There is, of
Yeah.
course, the risk that some kids are going over to vaping and weed and stuff like that. But that's a whole nother topic. But I think
Yeah.
just bringing it out into the light instead of keeping it in the shadows it becomes a topic they feel comfortable talking about, and that's such a huge breakthrough.
Yeah, absolutely. For the parent and child relationship to be able to have that openness, and I guess if we're there drinking all the time, that, like you said before, they'll be scared to approach you, or or you'll be reactive or angry or asleep on the couch, passed
Yeah,
out in your own, So you're never that parent that you want to be. So
I
yeah,
think.
go on.
Oh, so I was going to say, and I suppose the other thing that I'm kind of interested about as well is
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you went through that period in sobriety, because I think most of us who drink, binge drink, etc., we numb out to our feelings. We don't want to feel them, and there's a period in sobriety where we sort of take this mask off and we start to feel feelings again, negative and positive, and it can be quite a challenge. Actually experiencing sadness and anger, and being able to sort of handle that. I mean, did you go through a period where you noticed, hang on, I'm starting to feel feelings again and emotions?
Yeah, I think I felt I started to sort of laugh more.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah, but like really laugh. And I think it was like I just started to believe in myself more, and then with that came confidence. And I guess like I did start to exercise a fair bit, so with that comes some benefits.
yeah,
But I sort of, I guess after a couple of months, you do have that, and I just openly started to speak about my feelings, really, and I no rhyme or I didn't mind what people would say. I just sort of leant into how I felt and let people know.
yeah,
Um, it took off the mask, and then it adds a sense of bravery to you, I guess, or your self-esteem goes up, and then with that comes the power of having conversation and being open to talking about it.
yeah. And I think because you become vulnerable and you're able to own your feelings, whether that's
Yeah,
joy or whether that's anger, I think, and then you see that actually nobody's judging me, nobody's making fun of me or whatever it
nah,
might be. And
yeah,
yeah, you're right, you grow.
yeah, and vulnerable is a good word. Yeah, and it's people don't actually judge you. It's all built up in your own brain, a lot of it.
Completely.
Um, and then they sort of once they start to hear what you're doing, or um, you pick your moments when you say why. No one really gets the depth of what we're talking in now, but they do tune into it, and they're quite intrigued by it. And then it's people they almost admire you for it, and they're just thinking, oh gee, I don't know if I could do that, or I wish I could do that. And it's quite interesting to watch the reactions.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It really is. And often the people who sort of shout the loudest or perhaps are critical are often the ones who, they're looking at themselves in the mirror and they feel concerned about their own relationship with drinking.
Yeah, correct.
Have you had any of your friends maybe contact you since you've quit and ask you, or actually reach out to you? Because that happened to me quite a few times.
Yeah, look, I have. Yeah, I've over the journey, I've shared it publicly on my Facebook and main Instagram, and a few people have privately contacted me. Yeah, because of those posts, you're putting it out there in the
Yeah,
open, and one, you're sort of freaking out before you put it out there. Um, it's that whole voice in your head. What are people going to think? Um, but then once it's out there, a lot of people, they're commending it, they're commenting on it,
yeah.
and then a few people who some I've known for years, some I've known in recent years. Yeah, they'll send you a direct message, and that's been really encouraging. Well, it's great for them that they're feeling comfortable enough to maybe ask about it. But then what you're doing is actually already helping other people.
Yeah, precisely. You're
You know,
inspiring people with what you're doing, through your
yeah,
Instagram and just by being open.
yeah, and a lot of it at Booze Free Dad. That's a lot of it is all just me talking about it, and it's all about that vulnerability. And when a lot of people that I've known, you know, since school, or they might comment on it, or contact you, and they'll just say, well done, you know, good on you. And then, then they might on the side ask you about it and stuff like that. And it's sort of pretty important. It's a very personal journey, isn't it? And you it's sort of you don't want to preach to people about it, because that's not going to fly.
No.
People get to it themselves. But by posting about it, sharing about it, it's just a little bit of a jigsaw piece for them, isn't it? To get to that point where they might be ready.
Exactly that. Our journeys sound really, really similar in so many of the things you said. Actually, there's a lot of similarities, and it sounds like you've just done absolutely amazing. What are your kind of plans going forward? I mean, it sounds like you're inspiring people, and you're obviously putting yourself out there. Are you thinking about maybe developing that and actually, you know, perhaps coaching or sharing more, or are you just taking it as it comes now?
I think the plan for me really is to share more, Simon, for sure. I've got to, you know, obviously I've got my full-time job outside of this, but you know, down the track where it ends up, if I'm able to help people along the journey, whether it be coaching or, you know, maybe just setting up some programs for other blokes in Australia to talk about it and be comfortable to talk about alcohol consumption and maybe tweaking that relationship. I think there's a lot of value in that, I suppose. And so I think down the track, I'd love to be able to do something like that, or even, you know, whether it's coaching or talking about it, just being involved in this industry or the sober community, just to spread the message.
Spread the word, yeah.
Yeah, because I tell you what, like 401 days ago or 402 days ago, there was no way I'd imagine I'd be here, and there's no way I'd imagine I'd be talking about it. It's sort of contagious along the way, I suppose. It's such a powerful feeling to take a break from alcohol, because you don't know where you're going to end up, and so if I can share that with people and help them along the way, it'd be great, you know. And you know, I'm a writer by trade as well, so whether or not I write about it down the track.
Oh, so there could be a book coming soon.
Oh, who knows, mate? You know, it's the amount of stuff you journal over the journey as well.
Yeah, right.
I've got a fair back catalogue of stuff I've written about, and whether or not you put that out there and share with people, again, it's just leaning into your vulnerability and getting out there with it. But yeah, who knows where it'll go? But I'm definitely going to continue it. Like you said, last year was the year of first. This next year, in year 2, it's sort of capitalising on that now and really consolidating on the hard work put in, and now really the benefits will start to kick in, I think, and see where it goes.
Yeah, I totally agree. Oh, you're doing some amazing things. It's been great to talk to you. So if people want to connect with you, is Instagram the best way?
Yeah, it is. At Booze Free Dad on Instagram, or you know, if anyone, you know, wants to shoot an email privately, boozefreedad@gmail.com.
Perfect. I'll put those on the screen as well. So if anyone wants to follow you on Instagram or connect with you, that's amazing. Oh, Greg, it's been brilliant talking to you. Thanks so much for coming on. You're an inspiration. I'm excited to follow your journey as you go forward.
Yeah, good man, Simon. Thank you so much. And yeah, look, I recommend it to anyone, you know. Never be scared of day one.